We are at the BRP Design Center, and Denny is leading another group through, looking at some of the wonderful snowmobile, ATV, watercraft designs. Really no ATV here. It's 50 years of design. This is taken through the 1970s. It's a speed run sled. The profile was the first concept of getting the engine off of the tunnel and placed on the bulkhead. As we walk through here, we've got a lot of really interesting design. Transitioning from this RV to this one thing that Denny talked about was, you'll notice here your front suspension components are enclosed inside body panels. Through aerodynamic testing, they actually found there was less aerodynamic drag by just having the front suspension components exposed. As I come down the line here, you'll notice a lot of designs that we later see, and even today's snowmobiles, like the open mouth in the front of this, or this snowmobile, or specifically Jacques Villeneuve's sled here. It's told this kind of creates a Venturi effect, the way it comes in at an angle, and you see that design cue through a lot of things going forward. As we came down here, he talked about some of their snowmobiles having a certain shark-like design, and it was something that is still carried through to today. And there's the Twin Tracker. Technically a 1985 Formula One sled. It normally sits in the museum here in Valcourt. As interesting as the machines are, look at some of these back walls. Some of the other designs that are showcased here, some of their racing successes, all the way down the line. So normally these are like conference rooms and stuff, but for this event they went through, gathered machines from all over the country. Matt was key in that. Sea-Doo was actually started way back in the 60s, but parked for a long time, but then brought back in the late 1980s. Denny was instrumental in some of these designs. So we come forward, one of our sister publications at the time, Watercraft World, named the XP their Watercraft of the Year, and there it is. It was kind of a freshened up look to it with the graphics. As we move through the hall here, you'll notice this, the first Sea-Doo watercraft. Look how low and flat that thing is. Denny said that thing would beat you up when you went for a ride with it on choppy water. Now here's an interesting gig. When Denny's dad was first getting contract work from BRP, one of the first things he worked on was the 66 line, and one of his concepts was changing the corporate color of BRP to this kind of bluish color. He said that was about the only thing BRP didn't pick up from his father's designs. Left that for Snowjet and some of the other brands that came out at the time. Continuing on with some of the collection, we got a streak of Mach 1s that throw different chassis. This was the body style from 85 to 90. Then we went to the real bullet shape of the PRS chassis. The one thing that design-wise that he talked about was the shape of the windshields and the body, the way they protected the hands. That was something that was kind of a BRP signature. And you'll see it here once we move to the Formula chassis. We're no longer with a Mach 1, but we get to this MXZ 600, another snowmobile of the year, by the way. They brought in the ZX chassis, and then we step on up to the 2003 Rev. It was fascinating hearing him talk about, some of these other designs as we look back here. They're steps certainly, but they're notably smaller steps because they're not really changing where the driver sits in the machine, or they're changing certainly where the center of gravity is, but nothing like when the rev chassis came and they moved the driver so much farther forward and weighted the skis instead of the back of the track and did so many things that completely changed the snowmobiling experience for all of us today. Yes, and it's the old beaver tail design. That part of it only lasted 1 year. And you'll see again, look at this back wall, some of these like prototype drawings. Sea-Doo has certainly gone through some changes over the years. I can't claim to be an expert on that market, but it is interesting to step through. And for this particular exercise, to look at just some of the industrial design, the way body panels sit and such. The Elite was certainly a notable project in the history of snowmobiling, twice. Denny said this was actually a good machine, and it was. We test rode it. The biggest problem with the Elite was its extremely high price tag. Couldn't build these things cheap. Had an automotive style engine in them, but they rode surprisingly well. They were also extremely scary to meet on a snowmobile trail. I can say that for firsthand. So you're going down a trail, you're coming out of a turn, and you see this thing coming at you. It isn't wider than a snowmobile. It's just its full width all the way back, so it looks like a monster when it's coming at you. And of course, that's a XP chassis. Finally, design isn't just machines, it's also accessories, clothing. I mean, here's a clay model of a helmet. These guys model everything here. They also talked about how this design group is instrumental in working with their accessories department and their original equipment engineers nowadays to come up with accessories that work with the machine, that are designed like the machine, that fit the machine, that work with the link system. Each one of these garages over here is normally where designers work. There's the garage door. We'll go over here to one that's open. Who remembers the NEV, the neighborhood electric vehicle that they tried for about 4 years and it went away? But these garages now are displays. But this is normally where I'm told where like clay models are built and different design teams are working on very specific designs. Oftentimes, like one of these garages would be dedicated to Sea-Doo, and then the very next one over would be dedicated to a Ski-Doo team that are modeling something up. Now, the part of this building they're not letting us see is downstairs. That is where complete prototypes can be built. They're working on designs that are 5 to 15 years out, and there's kind of a no-holes-barred approach to that part of it, where they can come up with completely wacky designs, quite frankly, but it doesn't matter because it's so futuristic, and some will stick and some won't. So that's the design room for now. Hope you enjoyed the walkthrough.